Hey everyone, Angelo here. Welcome to another design tutorial. Today, I want to show you how to create an interactive product guide in Adobe InDesign. In this lesson, I'll cover how to set up toggle buttons to switch between colors, add page navigation, and other animation. So let's get started. All right, so let's get started on creating our interactive product guide. This is for a fictional smartwatch / fitness company. And you can see on my screen here, I do have one that I've created previously, which has animation as well as page structure buttons applied. I'm going to show you what the end result will be by the end of the lesson. So I'm just going to refresh this and it will be published online. So you saw that the watches came in with a zoom in animation, and I'll set up this toggle structure here where we can pick a color. So let's just say the watch comes in 2 separate colors. We could set up a toggle system here to switch between the colors. And then I also set up a page structure system here with these icons, okay, to go through. And you can see all 3 of those pages have animation, so we'll go through that as well. I'm going to start a new document. So I have one that I've created already. For yourself, just go to File, New Document, and go to the Mobile tab up top here, and select View All Presets. And the size that I'm working on here is the iPad Pro 12.9-inch screen display. Now, of course, if you already have a screen size that you know that you want to use, go ahead and plug that in and you can use a custom size. Just make sure you take primary text frame, the option off, so uncheck that. And then for this tutorial, I used a landscape layout. That's totally up to you. You can use a portrait if you want. In this lesson, we're using 3 pages. And the margins I set to 104 pixels. And we're also going to set up we're going to create our own guides as well. So once you have that set with these settings, you can go ahead and hit create. Now, I already have one here that I've created, and I'll show you how to set up these guides here. So once you have the 3 pages, they'll come in without the guides. Just click your Pages tab, and in the A master page here, double click that thumbnail. Now, anytime you add guides to a page, add them to the master page so it takes on all the pages throughout the document. So for this, now that I'm in the A master, I'll go up to Layout and Create Guides. And for this tutorial, I have 4 rows. You can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 columns. Okay. And you want to have it fit guides to margins. I'm just going to remove the existing. Okay. So 4 rows, 2 columns. The gutter will be 104. So 104 pixels, the same size as the margin. So 104, 104. And then fit the guides to the margins, not the page, okay? Once you are satisfied with that, hit OK. I'm gonna hit cancel because I already have mine set up, which is the same settings. And I'm just gonna go to my libraries panel here. I have a library here that I've set up for this lesson. So you can see all my assets here that I'll be using in this lesson, and you'll see me revert back to each toggle between each document here, just so I can reference of what I've done previously. But one thing I do want to do is go up to layers and create 2 more layers, because what I want is each page to have its own layer. So layer 1, let's just call this slide 1. Layer 2, well, let's call that slide 2. And layer 3 will be slide 3. Okay, so let's start with slide 1. It might be easier just to rip off the layers panel and have it on the side here so you don't have to keep going back and forth. I'm going to click slide 1 because that's the page we're going to be working on. And the first thing I want to do is just create a rectangle frame that covers the entire page. and I do want to make that, actually I want to make it white. Okay, this is just gonna be a white. Okay, and I will lock that just like so, and I'll start bringing in the watches first. So for this one, I'm just gonna drag them onto the page. Might take a few seconds to do. Now it shows up in my cursor here, and what I'll do is I'll just click and just plop it right on the page. And I'll do the same thing with the blue smartwatch, drag it on. And I'll do the same with this. I'm just gonna click on the page just so I know that they're both the same size. And in this case, I do want, right now they're called state 1 and state 2, that's fine. Those will actually be the names when I convert them to a multi-state object. But in this case, I want the white watch to be in front. So Shift Command square bracket, and then just line them up so they're on top of each other. And I'm just going to select them and use my alignment tools up top. So I'm going to line the horizontal centers. Oh, make sure that it's aligned to the selection and not the page. So align the horizontal and then the vertical centers. So now you know they're both there. The white version is on top and the blue is in the back. And I'm just going to place them somewhere like right there, maybe close, have it snap to that guide there. And then I can use my layers panel here. You could see that even if I turn one of the layers off and on, it toggles between the two. But we're going to set up a multi-state object to click on color buttons that will toggle between the two. So let's do that next. I'm going to grab the ellipse frame tool, and while holding shift, I'm just going to drag out just a small circle like so. And you can see in my library here, I already set up the colors I want. So let's go ahead and click that one. That's like a gray. I know the watch is white, but if I made it white, it would just blend right into the background. So let's just assume it's gray. And then this one will be the navy blue. And then what I could do is maybe put them right there on that guide. Okay, they might be a little too big, so let's just make them a little bit smaller. Hold your shift key and drag the corner of the frame to constrain the proportions as you're decreasing the size. So I'm just gonna maybe pull them to the center like so. That looks good. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep designing, putting the content on the page, and then as a last step, we'll add all the interactivity. So I do have some copy that I want to add to this. So a little description about the watch, a title, and a subtitle. So I'm gonna do that next. All right, so I'm gonna start adding the copy to the layout. Let's start with the headline first. I'm gonna create a text frame here and paste in the headline. I went ahead and created styles previously as well. So this will be main title blue. And let's just do a soft return there. I'm going to create another text frame that sits on this guide here. And I'm going to copy the name of the product. And let's turn that into the subtitle red. Okay, so the product is called the Nordic X Fit 2000. I'm gonna have that sit on that guide. And then finally, I'm gonna create another text frame here. You can see I'm using my guides in this case. It just structures things as you're working a little bit better. And this is body text. And by the way, for this tutorial, for anyone that is curious, I'm using Gotham Black for the title, Gotham Medium, and then Gotham Light. So just a combination of weights with Gotham, which is one of my favorite typefaces to use and a very popular one. Great, so now that I have the title, the headline, and the body text, let's go ahead and add. I'm gonna go back to my libraries here. You can see I have a previous and next button. So I'm gonna again drag those onto the page. Just click previous and click. You can see I'm doing this all on slide 1, okay? If at any point you're gonna work on any of these other layers, they're gonna be on the other layers. So if I turn off this layer, it turns everything off, okay? And again, I'm just gonna select both of those and align the vertical centers. And in this case, I'm also going to set up a numbering system. So this will be 1/3. And let's go ahead and make this, if I go to my properties, let's go ahead and make this body text for now. And I'll just make that bold. And then if I double click on any of the corners, what it'll do, it'll make the text frame snug around the text. I'm just gonna make that a little bit bigger. So Shift Command and just increase it a bit. It might be a little bit finicky a bit, but right now that is 55 point. So that's good. That's a good size. And what I'll do here is I'm gonna select all 3 of these. So the icon, the left, the number, page number, and the right arrow icon, and Command C or edit copy. I'm gonna go to slide 2, go to my second page, and I'm just gonna do a Shift Option Command V, and let's go to the third page, click on slide 3, Shift Option Command V. That's paste in place, by the way. And then I'm just gonna go in and change this to 2. And let's go change that last one to 3. Page 3 of 3. That just saves us some time later on. Okay. And again, a quick way of making this box fit, if you don't want to drag the handles, just double click the corner and it'll resize it for you on the fly. Okay, so make sure that you click back on slide 1 because now we're going back to the first page. And I'm just gonna go to this layout here, and I'm gonna select this top text that I've created. Basically just placeholder. There we go. And I'm just gonna drag that up top there. And move the Nordic Fitness all the way to the right. Perfect, okay. Great, so let's move on to the second page now. And I'm gonna start bringing in the content for page 2. All right, so now that I'm on page 2 or slide 2, make sure that you're working on the slide 2 layer. And again, as a first step, I'm going to select the rectangle frame tool and create a frame that covers the entire page. That will be our background. And in this case, I'm gonna go to my libraries, and I do want the background to be the navy blue. I'm gonna send it to the back by selecting or pressing Shift Command and the left square bracket. Of course, you could also go to Object, Arrange, and Send to Back. Okay, so now that background you can see is in the very back, which is good. And down below, let's change these to white. I'm gonna click on the right-hand one, hold my Shift key, click the left. And because these are vector, basically what I've done is I opened them in, or you could open them in Illustrator and then just copy them right over. That will allow you to change the color. Otherwise, if it's an image, obviously you can't. So you would have to do that beforehand. All right, so let's change this text to also white. Perfect, now I can start bringing in the second set of images. And in this case, there are gonna be 2 mobile phones. And just to make sure so it'll be this one. Okay, got it. Perfect. So I'll bring in this one first. And I'm just gonna position it kind of to the right-hand side here. And the second one will be, yes, perfect, okay. Second one will be this one. I'm just gonna drag it on and then just click. That will keep the same size. If you drag it, then there'll be different sizes. So in this case, I want this mobile phone to go behind the other. So again, you could use your Object Arrange, or you could also use your layers here. Collapse the layer for slide 2 and then just drag this one underneath, and you can see that one will go underneath. So that's exactly how I want it. Might move it just a little bit more to the right. And now I'm going to bring in the rest of the copy here. So again, I'm just going to draw in the text frames roughly, and then we can reposition them as we go. So you can see I drew in 3, and this one will be, okay, so I got the first set of text in there, and I'm going to change the style to be main title white. So you can see I made one that was blue and one that's white. Paste it right in, and I'm also going to make that subtitle red. And for this, I'm just going to grab the rest of the text and paste that in, and this will be body text white. Okay, I'm just gonna make that fit because there's some overset text. Perfect. And I'm going to make this fit like so, and then we can just kind of move these off to the right a bit or to the left. I don't want it to go, how did I have it here? Yep, so I had a little bit of space. So let's start with the body text first. So something like that. Make that fit down below. And then use your smart guides. You see how the green lines are showing you that it's snapping? Perfect. Move that up a bit, and let's move this up as well. You also have the option to move it just a little bit more to the right to get it closer to the content of the mobile phones. You can also move the mobile phones a little bit more to the left. So remember, proximity matters. Make sure that everything makes sense when you're adding content to a page. Since these are related, make sure that they're close enough so you're showing that they are related. I'm going to copy this text again. Go to slide 2. Click here, Shift, Option, Command, V. And in this case, I just got to go ahead and make this text white. Okay. I'm going to zoom in so I can see here. I'm going to put my guides on so I can see the text frames. Let's make that white. And that'll be 2. This is slide 2. And again, double click, and then I'm going to shift over to the right. Double click, Command A, select all, and then make it white. Perfect. So that page is set up as well. I'm going to go ahead and add the content to the third page, and then we'll start adding the interaction. All right, so now that we have all the content on the pages, it's time to start adding the interactivity. So you remember at the beginning of the lesson, I added these watches and I stacked them on top of one another. I have the white one on top, and if I move it off to the side, you can see the blue one there. I'm just gonna hit Command Z to undo. You can see I'm back on slide 1, which is good. I'm gonna select both of these together with my selection tool. Just click anywhere on the white space and drag to select both. And again, for this lesson, we're gonna need object states and animation. We might need timing in a little bit, but right now, these are the only two we're gonna need. And of course, if you need to find those, window, interactive, and all your interactive tools and panels are located here. So in the object states, I have these selected. I'm gonna go ahead and convert to a multi-state object. And you remember they were called state 1 and state 2. It'll stay that way, but you'll see once this takes, I'll have 2 states where I can start toggling between the 2. So there's the white and there's the blue. I'm gonna go ahead and rename this object name to smartwatches. That'll help us when we're adding the button structure in just a few moments. So now that we have that set up, let's focus on these 2 colors down below and set up a toggle system to toggle between each. For this, you're gonna need buttons and forms. So that's the other panel you're gonna need as well, which you can also find in the interactive location under the window, which I just showed. So let's start with the white or gray version here. I'm going to click on that. Let's bring that down a bit. And in the type, I want to select a button. I'm going to rename this button to gray color button. Pretty straightforward. The event we'll leave that on release or tap. And the action, this will be go to a state. So let's go ahead and click that. And you can see down below, smartwatches, it's our only multi-state object. You want that to be set to state 1. So when we click that, it'll go back to the white watch. Let's click on the navy blue button icon here and select button. And this will be navy blue button. And the action will be go to state. And for this, we want it to go to state 2. You can see the thumbnails there. Let's click state 2. And let's go ahead and test this out to see how it looks. So here's the preview, and you can see the toggle system works. So I can go from the gray to blue, and we set up the multi-state object to set up this toggle structure here. Okay. You're going to notice in my version here that this is off. Don't worry, that will still be aligned when you export it out or publish it online. Okay, so let's move on. Let's also add a simple animation to the watches. So when the page loads, they'll come in with a zoom in 2D effect on it. So I'm just going to click on it once. And in the animation panel here, let's choose a preset of zoom in 2D. And the event, let's click that and also select on page load. I want the duration of this to be 1 second. And everything else looks good. So if I hit the play preview EPUB icon there, let's see how that looks on page load as it comes in. So there it is. The watches fly in on page load, and then the toggle will still work just fine after the watches load. I'm going to go ahead and add the button structure on these buttons now. I'm going to show you how that works. So in the bottom right hand corner, let's start with the right hand arrow. So that'll be the forward button or the next button. I'm going to click that. For this, we're going to go back to buttons. And in the type, let's select button. And let's call this one next 1. The event will be on release or tap, so that's okay. The action will be go to next page. Okay. And that one is good. Let's click on the left one. So this is the previous button. So this is good because we can set this button to go to page 3. So almost like a back button. So let's click button and let's call this previous 1. And the action will be go to previous page. Let's go down below. Let's set the other buttons as well. So right now I'm on page 2 or slide to layer. Click on the type and we want button. This is next 2. Next button? No, next 2. And the event on release or tap, go to next page. Click on the left icon, button, and this is previous 2 with a go to previous page action. And finally, let's go to that last page. Select the right hand next button and let's change that to next 3 with a go to next page action. And then you have 1 left. Click the type, select button, and this will be previous 3 with an action of go to previous page. Perfect. So now all the buttons on these 3 pages are set, but we still want to add some animation to this page here. So let's go ahead and click the first mobile phone. And for this, we're going to go back to animation. And I want this to fly in from right. Okay, and I want this to come in fairly quickly. So 0.5 0.5 for the duration. And you can see on page load is fine. And you do want to keep the fade in opacity, which is good too. I'm going to click that, the one to the right of that, the one in the back. And this will also fly in from right with a 1 second. No, let's make it 0.5. Keep that consistent. And everything else looks good as well. So let's take a look and see how that looks on page load. This is slide 2 now. There's a little delay, but you can see that they both come in on page load and they fly in from the right. So once we publish that online, it'll look a lot smoother and cleaner. And so we just have this last animation to do. And for this, let's start with the one in the back. So the mobile phone will also come in with a zoom in 2D. Okay. And again, I like to set the animations to about 0.5, which is fine. And this will also happen on page load. This here, so this smartwatch, I built out this other piece here. Okay, so you can see that's the smartwatch that I pulled from my assets. And then I created this little circle. I basically stole it from the first, you can see up here. I took a piece from here and brought it down here. And basically what I want to do is I want to animate just that round piece, so it almost comes in as a spin effect. So I'm going to click on it. Now this is all grouped. So if you want to get to this here, double click and then double click again to drive into that. You can see I'm in the path now. Otherwise, if you don't, what you'll do is you're going to animate this entire group. Okay. So I'm going to double click and then double click again. And you can see that I'm now in that path. The preset here will be spin. So this circle part here will spin, and I guess 1 second looks good for now. You could set the rotation of the spin. Everything else looks fine. And let's have a look and see how that appears when the page loads as well. Do you see that? How that kind of went around, which just gives a nice cool effect. So let's play that again. There goes the phone, and there goes that the circle there comes in as a nice spin. So that's good. Now that we have that all set up, let's go ahead now as a final step and publish this online, and I'll show you again how it looks in a web browser. All right, so I've gone ahead and published the document online. Let's take a look and see how it appears in a web browser. So I'm just going to hit refresh. There comes the watch as a zoom in animation. You can see that the toggle works fine as well. I'm going to click the next button and it'll take me to page 2. There's the animated mobile phones as well. Let's go to page 3 and you can see that the buttons work as well and the animation. So let's click on page 3 and you saw that last animation on the watch as well. So that's a simple way of adding a toggle button system to switch between colors on a product, add page navigation, as well as other animation in Adobe InDesign. If you enjoyed this tutorial, if you found it helpful, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to get notified when new videos have been posted. And if you'd like to learn more about interactive design, go ahead and click the playlist above.